That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. He's just moving around everywhere. Since,
That's crazy.
since he can crawl good and has pretty good coordination. Yep, he just either crawls everywhere and wants to grab everything, or put him in his little truck walker, and then he just zooms all over, including chasing us around. I get up to go to the refrigerator. Here he comes in his truck right behind to run into the back of our legs.
That's so crazy because you guys spend a lot of time together with him, and it's like it's becoming like a little you. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's actually really fun watching the little kids learn. Even like they're in a different stage, especially in their year old, and they learn how to smile, then they kind of learn how to make noises, and then learn how to call, and well, eventually be learning how to take a piss.
Yeah.
I like standing up, so it's actually good. Yeah, it's good in the rural area because then you just go set them, stand them on a porch, and let them piss right outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, it's crazy because people like me that haven't been around kids for ages and stuff, we don't have that empathy for kids. So it kind of just gets frustrating, I guess, when we don't have that long-term exposure. But, and I remember back in the day and stuff, like with like little brothers and nephews and stuff. I'm pretty sure you had it with us and stuff, you know what I mean? Where it's like, see us in our stupid little stages. And like, to me, again, it's like, I went back home and I saw Lance's kids, and, you know, especially like Reese, I've always had this like adore for him, like kind of let him get away with shit. And it's funny to see him at an age where he's doing the same shit that I used to do, trying to get in trouble. So when he takes off and he's like not checking in or whatever, you know he's doing something wrong. He's doing some bad shit or whatever. It's like, because I used to do the same thing. Like if I was gone for like 2 hours, you know I'm fucking up, like setting shit on fire.
Yeah.
Crazy. That's insane because I tell everybody, it's like, yeah, Thomas was like, you know, there's a lot of weird like connections, but it's like, you know, we don't even know how long our relationship with Thomas and, you know, Tad and Eldon and all these guys, because you guys all babysitted us for like the longest time as kids and stuff. And yeah, I mean, it goes past beyond those times where you used to take us to the reservoir and, you know, smoke the shit out of Lance and, you know, make him run behind the truck and stuff. Like, yeah, it's good days. Built character.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I'm glad. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm saying you're keeping pretty well occupied with all kinds of shit, aren't you?
What's that? Say that one more time.
You're keeping pretty well occupied with all kinds of shit, aren't you now?
God, it feels busy. It's weird since this COVID shit came down. Like I feel busier than ever because so many people aren't working, especially like in the tattoo community. So they're kind of just like practicing and kind of broadbanding and promoting themselves. So they almost kind of need other people like me to promote them and stuff. So that along with the tattoo thing, I don't know why people still, you know, there's a high demand for tattoos, it feels like right now. So I don't know what variables are pulling towards that and stuff, but it's cool to kind of take advantage of it as much as I can right now. I'm trying to definitely limit it as to like just trying to be precautious about this whole COVID thing. I don't know how much of it is political or how much of it's real, how contagious is again. People almost said to the point it's like becoming like this super virus where it's like building like an immunity to like, you know what I mean, to all the immunizations and stuff, and it's getting stronger, and I don't know what to believe. So I just try to take as much precautions as I can and make sure I keep going with it.
Yeah, pretty much. It is a tricky disease. I mean, we all in the whole line of work thought it was going to be a lot more deadly than it turned out to be, for at least for now.
Yeah.
And,
but I mean, it's crazy because, like, especially with the tattoo community, like, we have to be California OSHA certified to actually be able to tattoo at conventions and stuff. So, every year I re-up my OSHA in February and stuff. and it talks about like cross contaminations and pathogens and stuff, and talking it kind of almost actually promotes the idea of wearing a face mask while you tattoo because of long-term exposures and coughs and definitely, and traveling and stuff. Like I've seen guys like professionals like Big Sleeps and Flax and those guys, and they go to China and Brazil and Saudi Arabia and stuff, and I mean it is crazy to see, like, I mean, the world kind of get that much more serious about, I mean, going to different environments, spreading different, bacteria and stuff. And especially with the immunizations, they had that whole movement of people that didn't want to vaccinate their kids. They didn't want to vaccinate themselves. They thought the flu shot was a government thing to kill people or whatever they thought it was. And here it turned out it was no bullshit. I mean, history doesn't lie. The bubonic plague. I mean, if there's so many variables to it again, and it's weird because me and my buddy in LA, we were talking about how like civilizations like over around 250 years, they usually collapse, and sometimes it's pandemics that collapse, and like the bubonic plague and the Roman era and swine flus and shit like that. It usually starts and almost ends with pandemics, so it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and especially on the immunization thing, a lot of those defeat smallpox, polio, tuberculosis, and all those kind of pandemic things. All pretty much almost all went away when the vaccinations came out for them. Then there's a resurgence, and it was all because of these dumbass motherfuckers saying, "No, I'm not going to get vaccinated. It's a government conspiracy."
Yeah, and
that was in our heads.
That was the true propaganda. It was like people spreading that bullshit around, and I mean, you get these fucking I don't even know where the fuck they're at in their lives and everything else, but I guess it's just these theories that haven't been fully disproven and everything else, so they feel like they hold somewhat merit. And man, I don't know. I mean, I can't say too much about it again because I don't have kids. I don't know what it's like to actually have to consider long-term effects of immunizations and stuff. But again, as being a soldier in a biochemical warfare environment and stuff, I mean, we have to get smallpox and other immunizations and shit. And at first I was kind of like sketchy about that. It's like, hey dude, I'm fucking Native American, you might as well fucking kill my ass or some shit. But I mean, when you're thinking about stupid shit like that in those environments, when you do spend a year in a combat environment and there are rockets flying over and shit, and you're like, whoa, that could be like fucking Agent Orange or some crazy shit. And I mean, you kind of really do start relying on those immunizations and those protections that the military kind of has you exhaust before you even step foot on a battlefield.
Yeah.
So to me, again, it was. Oh, go ahead.
A lot of those areas, their sanitary standards aren't nearly what they are here, so that's the reason for hepatitis. The hepatitis like A and B and those vaccinations that the military gives out. Those places over there don't have good.
No, especially like because we lived in Baghdad, and if you look at like the map of Baghdad, we lived in Fab Rustamaya, which was in between like three big, huge like burn pits. Like like we had the dump back in Shurs and constantly was on fire every morning and stuff. Just imagine like three giant ones of those, like just surrounding this like Iraqi army compound, and every morning we'd have to go do PT or set up, our trucks or, and get ready for missions in it. And you're just breathing in that shit. We'd find dead dogs in that shit. We'd find dead people in that motherfucker. Like, and just Lord knows what they're burning. They're not one of those people that can, sift out what people are throwing in there, like, couches and everything else. They don't have transfer stations. We do stuff. So after a while, it's just like kind of normal just to wake up and, you build that immunity to it, to wake up and just breathing and shit and just whatever, and stuff. And, I didn't really know how good us Americans had it until I came back home. I was like, holy shit, like, I feel like we fucking breathe around here. Like, there's not constant sand in the air. Like it was just it was weird. And then, you know what I mean, coming back and everything else, you really start, you know, having coughing problems or whatever and stuff. For me, I found myself smoking a lot, and I think I was just kind of addicted to that stress. And I was like a pack a day dude at one point. And I had to start really running, because at one point I was just felt like I was just lightheaded constantly, but I always felt like I needed that cigarette. Yeah. But I don't know. At that point, I just don't really understand. You know what I mean, so many people could not trust the government, and I think that just comes from with a lack of actually educating themselves on what they're actually being introduced to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a combination of that
Yeah, because it's
and
one thing to be gullible and inherit everything that
yeah,
somebody tells you, especially the media and stuff. But you know, what I mean, I have to tell people, it's like, do you think that news reporter, like that fine ass news reporter on there, you think with all that makeup and everything else, do you think she wrote what she's reading? Do you think she actually, you know, took the time to get to know these people? Do you think she conducted the interviews by herself? Nah, she just read a fucking teleprompter. Like, don't buy into it. It might be half true, it might be 90% true, it might be 3/4 true or a quarter true. Like, you don't know. Like, all you could do is just use your own mind, do your own research, and take consideration your own self, and be responsible for your own, you know, intelligence.
yeah, no, yeah, definitely. People need to dig in and do a lot of their own research to learn a lot more on a subject. And a lot of the
Yeah,
comes from a lack of actual real leadership, whether it's at the state or even the federal level. It's
yeah,
like they took it's like a lot of them took every single book on what not to do in a leadership position and decides to do it.
yeah,
There's like when I was kind of doing a video test earlier and I kind of screwed it up somehow. I was basically ended up babbling for about 40 minutes to myself on leadership trait, like
yeah,
the traits that people expect of their leaders, and also some traits that actually inhibit good leadership.
yeah,
A lot of those people that are put in that position, well, they show the characteristics that actually inhibit real leadership, and
yeah,
yeah, a couple of them are like they're distrustful. They're not really a person to trust because they're not very honest on what they say.
mm-hmm,
And also, a lot of them are very egocentric, which means
yeah,
everything is me. I did
mm-hmm,
this, I did that, and well, really didn't do shit. All of their people actually did all the work, but they're wanting to take all the credit and none of the blame, which also
yeah,
into like people that are either ruthless or act like dictators. The type that are assholes.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think I learned a lot of that from, I would say, growing up with terrible leaders. I wouldn't like, I would say like kind of more in a sense, like, I wouldn't say selfish or like out for themselves, as, you know, a lack of empathy. And, you know what I mean? I kind of learned that in, you know, not psychology, but philosophy classes, you know, especially the categorical imperative, kind of like living to a standard to which everybody could live to. And, you know what I mean? As a kid, you know what I mean, I, you know, drew my ass off. I never, you know, won awards. I never got trophies. You know what I mean? I never really was recognized for anything good. I was always kind of recognized for bad shit, like setting the pool on fire, or, you know, fighting and stupid shit. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, I mean, I was never really recognized for anything awarding until the military. And like it was always one of those things where it kind of was a thankless job. You know, being a middle child was always a thankless job. Being a younger brother, you know what I mean? Being a res kid almost was, you know, just you were kind of invisible to the world. And it was weird when I got around good leaders and they were like, hey, that was a good fucking job. Or like, dude, you're a fucking badass. And, you know, it felt awkward, you know, getting compliments and stuff. And, you know, the more and more you get around good leaders, you start recognizing the correlating qualities that good leaders have. You know what I mean? And they'll give you respect. You know what I mean? When you do it. And especially one thing that I learned from good leaders with me was they'll punish the fuck out of you. When you do stupid shit, you do grimy shit on their behalf, you know, you're a direct reflection of them. And you fuck that up enough, you know what I mean? It is almost one of those things where, you know what I mean? I kind of almost look at it with the jail system, you know what I mean? Criminals these days and everything else, you know, they'll have the idea to commit murder, but if they do it a certain way, they're not going to get life in prison. They're going to, you know what I mean, spend time in jail, or they might even get away with it and stuff. So at that point, the consequences to murder and everything else have been, you know, grayed out to the point where it's like it's no longer as punishable as it used to be. So the consequences aren't as harsh. So there's more people on higher probability that it might happen. And again, I just felt like that kind of has been, you know, with leadership qualities and parenting, leadership qualities and businesses, leadership qualities and politics and everything else. It's like, how would you feel if us natives took back over and kicked all you motherfuckers out of our country and treated you guys like shit, set all you guys on reservations, made you guys really have to file paper to even coexist? We put blood quantum, you know what I mean, stipulations on you guys and everything else. So, you know, how would that feel? You know what I mean? And I try to look at it from a non-biased perspective towards, you know, the Black Lives Matter movement. You know what I mean? How would you feel if, you know, you were enslaved for, you know, yada, yada years and taken from your land and all this other stuff, and, you know, the oppression and everything else? Like, it's so easy to sit there and say, well, we had it worse. You know what I mean? But at the same time, exercising that sense of empathy, that's where a lot of good leadership qualities I feel like come about, is you got to put yourself in their shoes. You know what I mean? You got to kind of try on their heart for a little bit and see how it feels to be persecuted and stuff. And, you know, I'm not really obviously like dark and, you know, long haired and, you know, I mean, I have a lot of tattoos. So a lot of people really kind of mistake me for like, you know, Latino or, you know, especially around here in New Mexico. I get a lot of people talking to me like Spanish at first. And, so I've, you know, especially in the military, I've had people call me red ass. My name is Quincy Lamar Johnson. So I have like one of the blackest names I've ever met. You know what I mean? I've met Jamals and, you know, people that say like, damn, dude, like you got a black name. And, you know, after they find I'm native, they're like, why don't...
Did you say let me pull?
With that, yeah.
Show you?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways to respond to it before you stop taking it so personal. You know what I mean? Because at first I was like, because they would tell me, they're like, dude, you're a Mexican. I'm like, yo, I'm like Native American. They're like, oh, why don't your name like Red Ass or Little Feather and everything else? And you take it to offense at first. And you're like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, you know, especially when you're talking to a guy that has stripes on, you're some little fuzzy ass private, and you're like, dude, you want to get punched in the fucking mouth? Like what cannot do and stuff. So you after a while, you know, when you get your third year in the military and you understand, you learn how to deal with it. And for me, it was like, I saw so many Indians defend it verbally. I've seen so many Indians defend it by passiveness and just going back in their corner and, you know, acting like they didn't exist, or, you know, kind of complacency almost. Me, I just try to outshine motherfuckers. It's like, yeah, I'm that Indian, but I'm in front of you, or I'm jumping first, or you'll never see me running from a gunfight, or, you know, I mean, there's 10 trucks to fix that. 10 trucks that's gonna get done by fucking sundown. Like, there's no stopping me, because I ain't gonna be that fucking Indian. You know what I mean? And for a long time, again, it was like just in kind of trying to prove yourself perspective and everything else. I kind of ended up excelling just because it was like the kind of oppression was something that I didn't want to bear. I didn't want to kind of reflect, you know, pain and everything and suffering of oppression that really wasn't mine. I mean, I'm sure the Cheyenne people and the Navajo people and everything else have massacres. I'm sure even the Paiute people have some pretty, you know, dark historic moments and stuff. But, you know what? I grew up with Mushy, and he was a fucking asshole. You know what I mean? my mom was pretty ruthless. You know what I mean? Tomoke had his days and everything else, but when it comes down to it, dude, I grew up fucking rich. Like we lived by a river. You know, what I mean, we didn't have, prostitutes and drug addicts and stuff on every corner. Like I could walk around with my brothers. We could go to grandpa's house. We could go to grandma's house. Like you can't do that here in Albuquerque. Like you can't do that anywhere. And not just that, like I had pretty strict parents. But if you went to one of my homies' house and you asked for a cigarette, you got a cigarette. Like if you went to one of my homies' house and you asked for a soda, you got a soda. That's where they lived. Every day they smoked cigarettes. Every day they drank, alcohol, or they drank, soda and stuff. And I would go over there and you can't get that at my house. And I love that thought now is that my mom would never be your friend and try to sit you down and, blend you up a margarita at 10 years old, or, throw you a cigarette. No, it was a big no. She cared about you enough to tell you no. She wasn't trying to be your friend. She didn't care about being your homie. She didn't want to be your star player. She wasn't trying to be your hero. She was your fucking mom. And a lot of people didn't get that as a kid. And I see them now. You know what I mean? It's like when I was a kid, if I saw something on TV and I wanted it, you had to either wait till your birthday, or you had to wait till Christmas, or you had to do something immaculately proud or, stunning to the point where you deserved it and stuff. Good luck with that shit and shares. Excuse me. But it was to the point where I didn't expect shit. I mean, I didn't expect a car for my 16th birthday. I didn't expect, my mom to leave me down a house because she never had a house. You know what I mean? My dad, he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to give you this car with no engine in it. You know what I mean? I'm going to give you this trailer that, has been having people piss on the side of it since, it was built. I mean, it was like, the things that they wanted to give you and stuff, it was like, I appreciate that. It's really bad, but I always had a notion to leave the reservation as a kid. Like I always had this urge to want to just go out and I wouldn't say like have fun, but do something that I love. It couldn't have been too hard. You see that shit on TV or whatever and stuff, and you see people do it all the time. And for me, it's like, why can't an Indian kid do that? Why can't an Indian kid become, a Green Beret or, a professional tattoo artist, or, why can't, an Indian kid have a, 6, bedroom house? You know what I mean? Like, and just more and more and stuff, I guess, like I worked to where it wasn't, I didn't want to deserve anything. I wanted to know that I deserved that shit. And I always told people, that's why I had to, make my own luck tattooed on my neck after I got in the military. It's like, I've never been lucky. I've had to earn everything twice, 3 times before I've seen it. I love that fact because I don't want it easy. Easy shit don't last. And it's crazy that, being on this with you, I learned that shit from you, like in Reno, where it was like, a lot of the homies that, I felt validated from, or, just like people that I hung around at the time and everything else, it wasn't that they weren't good people and everything else, but they didn't serve me in the way that I needed to be, kind of whatever influenced and stuff, you know what I mean? And then I started hanging around you, and it was like somebody that kind of drove you to a different maturity, or probably it was just maturity in a general sense. Maybe I was inversely working towards immaturity or maturity. So like, I remember in Reno at one point, like, just hanging around you. I spent a lot of time with Auntie Tita. I spent a lot of time with Grandma. And it was just like, adhering to that. And it was, again, kind of that leadership sense where it was like, hey, just worry about your fucking self. And I remember that was one of the biggest qualities that I had problem in the military. So I was always trying to take care of somebody else when I was fucked up. But.
Yeah. And well, the whole subject of leadership and stuff is some of my actual favorite subjects to teach a lot of. And I do try to embed it in any of the classes that I do, even if I'm kind of sneaking it in when the subject may not necessarily be leadership related, but I'll try to find a way to work it in a way that it actually influences and influences field operators, especially especially that one part about, or the main part about treating everybody fairly and being able to open up good communication, like back and forth communication between the person
Yeah.
position and all of their personnel, to where it's not really a I say, you do, or get the fuck out of here type of thing. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
here's what we're going to do. I set a very high standard for excellence because I know you can accomplish it. That's why the standard,
Yeah.
right? Because I know you can do it. And,
Yeah.
and we'll work on getting that level. If a person isn't fairly um, skilled in some areas, hey, no problem. We'll get to work on it. We'll get it done. And yeah, really setting a positive operation tempo from the beginning with all people is one of the most critical parts of getting the entire operation or anything running on the right track.
Yeah.
And to where all the people are really on board with everything and they all want to do their best. They all know they're going to get recognition for all their accomplishments.
Yeah.
And and if there's any issues that arise, and then pretty much it's work collectively to resolve issues and solve problems.
That's crazy because like I research a lot of Simon Sinek these days, or Sinek, whatever. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce his name, but he's the one who wrote Leaders Eat Last. And in it he talks about like how this guy he worked for like I don't know if it was like it was two different, biggest hotels, but at one he was like, um I work at this company. He was like, how do you feel? And he's like, I love it. He's like, anywhere I go, the boss asks me what I need, if I need anything, you know what I mean? Do I need any help? He's like, I feel like I, have a place here. Um, I'm always constantly supported, you know what I mean? I have a great day at work. He's like, but I also work at Caesar's Palace. And he's like, there, I always feel like I'm in trouble. I always feel like I'm not doing enough. I always feel like if I don't fulfill this job, that my time here is limited. Like my days are numbered. And, I've had both, you know what I mean? Especially like, I talk to a lot of homies about, people that love or say they love you, but there's conditions on their love. Like, if you do this, I'll never accept you. Or, you know what I mean? X factor happens here equals this or whatever and stuff. And, how so many people put so many stipulations on it. And,
Yeah,
I've had leaders like that. You know what I mean? Like, if you fuck up, I'm going to burn your ass, and not just that. And I'm never going to look at you the same ever. And I've had that for the longest time. And actually, I went to the military really scared about that. Um, but it was crazy because anytime I did fuck up, I was that one person that kind of would cower almost to the point where you would try to dull in the hit. And my drill sergeant in basic, he even told me, he's like, dude, you're really fucking timid. He's like, did you get beat up a lot? And I was like, worse. Like anything I did, I got, yelled at or scolded, grounded, anything. He's like, that's fucked up. People fucked you up, man. He's like, because I brought you in to actually tell you, he's like, you did a good job. He's like, you started handling shit bad and everything else, but you did it better than a lot of other people. Like, and I was like, I could have did this, I could have done that. He's like, yeah, but it's over with. Like, do you live in the past a lot? He's like, do you have a lot of fucking anxiety? Like, what's up with you? Do you have panic attacks? And I was like, what's a panic attack? And he explained me what a panic attack was. And I was like, dude, I have those every fucking day. He's like, what the fuck? People die from that shit. He's like, people back home try to fucking kill you. Like, what the hell? And it was crazy because it was like, why did I always feel like I was in trouble? Like I always felt like I was never doing enough and stuff. And when I got into the military, luckily I got around, especially in the airborne, you kind of shipped out all those shitty leaders and stuff when you start kind of going into the special ops level and stuff. And I had great leaders, and they always made me feel like I had a place next to them. They always made me feel like I was their best soldier. And especially in a place where the military, out here in society, the more violent you get, the more prone you are to throwing in jail or being alcoholic and something else. But in the military, the more violent you are, the more psycho you are, the more recognition you get. The more fun you have. The more, cool people want to be around, the safer you are and stuff. So it's like you get, rewarded for being a pretty fucking crazy dude in the military. And luckily I had a lot of good dudes that wanted me to be their soldier, and they would teach me how to be like them too. So again, I kind of took that, and that's why I try to every day. I mean, I feel pain. I feel anxiety and depression with this COVID shit. I feel worried too, but at the same time, somebody's got to keep up. Somebody's got to keep moving and stuff. And again, that was my sergeant. You know what I mean? Like they would tell me, nah, Johnson, you can go to bed. Go night. You want a bottle? You want your blanket? We're going to go work. We're going to go do some shit. We're going to fucking make the most out of this day. So, and I always thought that was so fucking dope because I come from a place where it was just, you did the opposite. Or, so many people were scared to do the hard right instead of the easy wrong. I think I got that from you too. It was like anything, like especially back in the day. I mean, we lived kind of a dual life, especially splitting, with my mom and my dad and stuff. It was like, moms, you live in Ballin, play video games, like run around the streets and, beat up white kids and stuff. Whatever the fuck it was, like you get fucking ran down by fucking Og's fucking friends and shit, and playing basketball or some shit. Big old nasty Indian dudes and shit, and it was like a different environment from sure as to where you would go and you'd hang out with fucking Mushy, and you'd throw your ass off the train bridge, or make you hunt all night, sleep deprive your ass, and get all drunk, and then go home and then just talk about how fucking how mean my mom was to him. And it was just, it was crazy because it was like, no matter what we did, it was like we were always doing something. We were always going somewhere. We were always moving somewhere. And we did kind of feel like we had this kind of like mobile life, like kind of almost homeless.
Gypsy-ish.
Yeah. And for a long time, I always thought that was a bad thing. But even in the military, I tell a lot of people that, when you're in the Army or when you're in the Marine Corps and everything else, you're practically a professional homeless fucking, you're practically professionally homeless. You know how to set up camp anywhere. You know how to sleep in, a back of a car, underneath the car, in a hut, in a tent, like just on top of a truck. Like, like you become comfortable with things that you never thought that you would ever be comfortable with. And again, they kind of rid you of your ego right when you start going to basic. They shave your head. They take anything as far as identity away from you and stuff. And again, like I said, just certain things about your identity and stuff like being white or being native or whatever else. They strip you of that shit, and you become this, kind of universal identity. And for me, again, it was just like, once I kind of rid of myself, like, oh my God, I couldn't do that. Or I can't live without, my hair, or like, I always grew up without, hair and stuff like that. So I never knew what it was like not to be bald. And for me, like, it was like easy. Actually, when I went in the military, I didn't know you got paid. I thought, what's that?
I didn't either.
Yeah. I didn't know you got a check every month. I was like, whoa, we get paid to do this shit? Like, yeah, and you get an extra $300 for being airborne. I was like, that's fucking beer money. Like, holy shit. Like, so I was so fucking stoked, like, about being in the Army and stuff. And when I went into basic, that shit was like juvie. Like, it wasn't